Tom Vizel is the founder and executive director of We Are MENA, a transnational network connecting youth organizations across the Middle East and North Africa to build trust, civic engagement, and cross-cultural partnership. Formerly the educational director of NOAL, Israel's largest Jewish Arab Druze youth movement, he has spent over a decade designing regional educational encounters and advancing youth-led cooperation across the MENA region. What was the moment or experience that made you realize this initiative needed to exist and that you personally had to build it?
As you just mentioned, I was the educational director of NOAL. I was working in this organization for years, and really it was a privilege because it gave me the opportunity to meet the diverse Israeli society in a way I think not a lot of people have the opportunity to meet. Because it's a youth organization, you meet a lot of young leaders. They be Muslim, Christian, Druze, and of course Jewish. And I had the responsibility to make sure there are meeting one another and getting to know one another. And if it's through branches that are meeting one another, if it's through unique workshops I was responsible to create, and other initiatives that were coming along the way. And while I was doing it, I was asking myself, I was studying in the Mandela Institute for Young Leaders, and I was asking myself this question, is there an option to scale this up, to take this 100 years of experience of this youth organization, getting together young people inside the Israeli society. Can we take this experience, this amazing pedagogy that overcomes so many challenges inside the Israeli society? Can we take this educational approach and bring it to our region as well? It was back 5 years ago, and of course, I guess you guys too, and maybe others kind of smelled in the air that will later become the Abraham Accords. But it really was this merger of what was going on in the region, in the geopolitical sphere, and coming from inside and coming from my inner passion and thinking, can I increase that? Can I do more of that? So with the help of the Mandela Institute, I had the privilege of learning and getting a lot of time to develop and finding the right wording and platforms and ways to think about this new network. I was looking for partners, and I don't know how much to take it, but back then, 5 years ago, and of course when the Abraham Accords were signed, I was just saying this has to happen, and we have to try. Me and other partners that were coming on the way, we have to find the ways to get young people know each other, and hopefully to build something that will change the region in the people-to-people approach.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about how this journey started, some achievements or interesting moments of that journey that sounds so brave and so unique.
So let me just start with the end so our listeners can understand. So today, the We Are MENA network is a network of 15 youth organizations, and it's growing. We have in our work plan for 2026, we're planning to double the amount of organizations in the network. And network is built out of organizations from 10 different countries, from 5 different religions. And so in a nutshell, and it started during COVID. So everything was insane back then. But we were looking, and there were other people that still to this very day are great partners that were very helpful and thought that the idea of taking educational pedagogies and getting youth together from the region is a good idea. So they were very helpful in finding the first organization that we collabed with. So the first, I would say, was a Moroccan organization. In my line of work in NOAL, I was responsible for the international department as well. So I was already in contact with Palestinian organizations because that was back then kind of what the organization was doing. And so I already had that, but I felt, again, with this changing geopolitical sphere, we have to find new ones. So the first organization we found outside of this, I think what everybody knew as the Oslo concepts and kind of working in the Israeli-Palestinian sphere, was a Moroccan organization that we are working closely to this very day, called the Mimuna Association. So we started by just talking online, getting to know each other, the leaderships, introducing to them the idea of what is We Are MENA and what we're dreaming to do. Luckily enough, back then it was we got the support from the Ministry of Regional Cooperation in Israel that supported our kind of pilot program. Back then, we called ourselves Youth for MENA. That was our first name. And we did this gathering of 15 young people from Israel, from NOAL actually. We brought the diverse faces and young leaders of Israel, meaning Jewish, Arab, and Druze young leaders, to meet 15 young Muslim Moroccans in Morocco for 5 immersive days. And later on, those 15 young Moroccans came to Israel and they met those 15 young Israelis. So it's kind of, I would say, an Abrahamic approach of kind of opening the door, hosting and being hosted in this, I would say, very important part of what is We Are MENA pedagogy. You need to come, you need to see, you need to be there, you need to visit people's, I wouldn't say house as in nation, as in country, as in past and present challenges, future dreams, and then to do the same. I mean, hosting and doing the same and bringing them to your home, and sharing with them what you have to what you want to share, what your dreams and etc. So we started there, and back then I think that was kind of the agenda. I got in connections with the EU. And we're still working with the EU today. They're supporting us very closely, which is very important because we took a lot of inspiration from learning from the European model. Because the Europeans back in the 90s, I think this is very interesting. Europe is in challenging times right now. I don't know where it will go. But if you look at Europe in the last 30-something years, since the early 90s, late 80s, Europe has changed rapidly in a ways that we can I don't know if anyone could imagine it. Europe, two wars, 1,000 years of nations fighting one another, to this point that when someone from our region is saying Europe, they would most likely talk about going into a vacation, going to somewhere without any borders, having a nice time. And Europe built that herself or itself that way because they did something very smart. Um, they did acknowledge each and every nation and their importance. On the one hand, they did create a diplomacy and ways of working together and kind of a win-win situation in ways of security and ways of economical ties. But they did something else that was very important, and that was the human factor. And they put a lot of money. Talking about, I would say, more than 100 million euros throughout the years to get millions and millions of young people, young Europeans together to meet one another in different ways in order to create not only their nation identity, but a common identity, a European identity that connects them as well. And I think and I believe that in the Middle East North Africa region, we lack all those elements. I mean, we lack the diplomacy, we lack the security, we lack the economy. But maybe the Abraham Accords is like a first step for those three circles. But I really fear that our amazing partners from the United States and our countries would forget that fourth circle, that human element. Because, you can see the Abraham Accords before the October 7th, but it's very much into economical ties, which is great, which is super important in order to make sure countries are aligned, working together and building themselves and building a region. Working on the future generation without working with the young generation that really, for years and years, grew on hatred, grew on such bad opinions on one another. As Israelis, we see ourselves a lot of time as this common wording is like a villa in the jungle. We're like here, but we're not here. We're a different society, different culture, and I think that has to change. And the same, of course, goes to our neighbors. They can't see Israel as this foreign identity, foreign country that is not from here. We're from here, and the Jewish people, Israel, and we're here to stay, and nobody's going anywhere. And we have to work with one another. We have to acknowledge that, and we have to educate the young generation to understand that, to understand history. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you so much. I always say that people forgot within the Abraham Accords, they forgot one person called Abraham,
Yeah.
which actually unifies us, which is the human connection, the person that unifies, that we all see us as part of his children.
Yeah, and I could say from personal experience, till you don't really get to know people and sit with them, you always just think of what you're told and what the news tells you. So it's so important what you're doing is, and this important initiative, We Are MENA, this is everything. And I do want to ask you something. What is the greatest challenge you face with the youth today, being that this whole initiative started because of conflict?
Um, First of all, we're in this gigantic challenge. Before October 7th, I think we had this vision that we will do this again, this Erasmus, as I was just mentioning earlier, this people-to-people program. Like we will do the Erasmus for the Middle East, the young people in immersive encounters. Post October 7th, I think we kind of thought, how are we building We Are MENA? How are we building ourselves? And we understood that we have to adapt to this changing times, and we have to build a more stable infrastructures in order to make sure that when the day comes, when everything is hopefully stable again, and hopefully it will be soon, we can say to whoever comes, we are ready. Meaning not just me and my organization, but the network of organizations that some of them are willingly, openly sharing and saying we are part of We Are MENA, and some are very much kind of doing it underground because it's dangerous for them. Not all the countries that or organizations, more to say, that we are working with are in countries that are in relationship with Israel at the moment. So that's part of the
Wow,
challenge
that's
we're
amazing.
facing.
Pretty cool.
Thank you.
That I didn't know about that. About that's so unique.
Yeah. So yeah, we have in North Africa, we have in the Middle East, we have at least 4 countries that we're working with organizations from those countries, and we're good contacts. And you have to be very creative in order to kind of work with them. How do you connect? What social media do you use? What sort of nonprofits in what third countries do you need to work with in order to make sure, I don't know, if you need to move fundings from one side to the other in order to, I don't know, buy them a plane ticket easily, right? It's not that easy when you're with one of those countries. So you have to be very creative, and if you and you have to find third party partners that are willing to do that. And of course, the U.S. is a great partner for that, and some countries and some organizations in Europe. And again, I'm privileged to been working with some big organizations, including the European Union and the U.S. Embassy and the AJC and others that are very much helpful. We are MENA and again stabilize this infrastructure for what will hopefully be the next step of this organization and others in building this uh, um, what do you call it? Like an atmosphere of organizations that are working and collabing in order to create a different reality.
Tom, could you share a concrete moment or story where you saw real impact or feel that this work was truly making a difference?
I can probably think of several examples, but I would have to take one that is a collective moment for all this region, and that is October 7th. From a personal point of view, I was in the States back then, and I was working so hard. We Armenia had so much groundbreaking plans for the last quarter of 2023. We were supposed to do 2 encounters in the UAE. We had support, we had the funding, we had the partners, we had this trip to Jordan with some leaders from Israel, we had a Moroccan Israeli event, and I was invited to a peace conference in Saudi Arabia. It was that crazy. And all of that was supposedly the last quarter of 2023, and my partner was pregnant, and I was like kind of fixing my schedule in this crazy way to make sure everything will work. And then, I mean, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was looking at my phone because fortunately that what's people do when they wake up in the middle of the night. They don't try to get back to sleep. They look at their phones. And I got this crazy messages. Don't come back. And I was like, what's going on? Of course, you look more and more and more. And it was just insane. And I was actually like in an airport hotel, actually supposed to travel to Israel that morning. And of course, the flight was canceled. I was stuck for a week. And it was terrible because everything was canceled. All those events I was just mentioning was canceled. I was recruited um, to my reserve service, and I was serving till my partner gave birth, and it was very depressing. If you want, I can share with you later an amazing pictures with me with this great mustache that I was growing because I was not showing my face to anybody, and my partner was very much okay with that, and of course the friends from the army. I was talking with like between like me and myself, and I was like, you should get a job. This is going nowhere. But then, regarding your question, I started to get some amazing phone calls from friends and partners from the region that were asking. They were very supportive, and they were afraid. I mean, I can't say the plans came back. You know, we did cancel everything, but in the same time, in the personal human level, I had the chance to meet people that like when the tie's up, you know, you actually see who your friends are, who will support you,
Right.
who will help you when time is hard. And I'm very privileged to say that I met some amazing people that are very supportive to Israel and to me and my work back then. And just, I would say a week ago, we had this conversation. We had a Zoom call between this Kurdish organization and an Israeli organization from the network talking about what's going on in Syria right now. Back then, I mean, it kind of changed, but it was 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. And I opened the conversation by mentioning that. I was telling to the people, listen, it's very important for me to say, like the people that you're meeting here today were the first people who called me on October 7th. And I feel obligated that we're doing this today, that we're kind of calling back to them right now in their hard times. And I don't know how we can be supportive, but I know we can, in the human level, we can share the pain. And that's an important step in order to create partnerships and that are stable and they are powerful. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
friendship is a mutual thing. Sometimes you need the help, sometimes they need the help. I think most of our listeners would probably don't know what NOAL is all about. And I think the connection between your work in We Are MENA and to NOAL and the inspiration you took from your experience, I think would love to hear more about that. And also, if you could share a little bit about the pedagogy.
Sure. I'd love that. I'd love to share. NOAL is really an amazing organization. First of all, it's 100 years old. This year, the organization is celebrating 100 years, and it's one of the largest youth organizations in Israel. Approximately 90,000 youth. 20,000 of those numbers are Arab youth, which makes it one of the largest Arab youth organization in Israel, or for the democratic point of view, one of the largest in the Middle East, and approximately 6,000 Druze from all the Druze villages in Israel, including Golan Heights. So this is just about the numbers. And how does it work? So youth organizations, youth, what we call non-formal activities and afternoon activities. NOAL has hundreds of youth branches all across Israel. They're meeting twice, maybe more a week, to assemble in groups with young leaders that are kind of guiding and consulting younger people, and to give them the youth organization values, which is, if to take the youth organization logo, is four main pillars. One is to work, to defend, and to strive for peace, and then rise and fulfill all those three. But to work means go and work and build your country, and build it as a equal society and a just society for all. Defend is being willing to defend your country and to defend those values and strive for peace. And NOAL has, in its history, has two Nobel Peace Prize alumni. One is Yitzhak Rabin, the assassinated prime minister, and the other is Shimon Peres. So it is an organization that has built a lot of Israel as a country as we know it today. That DNA, I think, is a lot of what have created me as an educator. And of course, We Are MENA in its first steps.
Right. Wow. Tom, we are heading down similar paths. What's one piece of advice you can give us as a podcast so we can better help unify people from different borders and different faiths?
Great question, yeah.
Great question. I think one is to be proud of who you are, and like don't be shy in who you are, because I think that's a lot of the things that I would say historically we see in a lot of organizations, and kind of the ways and paths that the word peace was created, I think, with a lot of inner cancellation, and I think that's not something that helps. And in the same time, in parallel, be very willing to be a great listener and to change throughout those, being with an open heart. I remember the first time I met an Arab person, and I remember that I was listening, was this young woman leader, and I was meeting her. She was like lecturing somewhere, and it was in north of Israel, I would say like 15, 20 years ago. And I remembered when I was listening to her, I started to think about how many assumptions I came with to this conversation. I mean, how many things I was sure that she has nothing to teach me in a way. I mean, I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't aware that I had this in my mind. But only when I heard her and I was listening to her and I was telling myself, wow, she's very smart. She's like, and she's passionate about what she's doing, and um, she's doing an amazing work. Then I realized that I have these assumptions that I came with that hurt me along the way to actually meet her. That's just one example. I mean, we have so many of those, and it's not like something that is solvable. I was listening one time, and now I'm a good listener, so I can move forward.
It's a muscle. You need to work on it always.
It's a muscle, and yeah, exactly. And it still hurts. It's not like, oh, I'm in good shape. Every time you will run, yeah, it will be hard. And every time you will listen, you will find something that you were not aware, or you came back to your old assumptions in a way and you kind of need to break that cycle all again and again and again. I think that's one thing you have to do in order to create good conversation in your context and partner up.
You talked about listening, and I was thinking about the fact that you studied Arabic in one of the best schools of Arabic that I know. And I
Objectively.
wonder if something about I was wondering if something about that studying another language. Some of the people in the Middle East, a lot of them, does it teach you anything interesting about Arab culture or the Middle East in general? Something that you want to share?
I had this course in Chen's Arabic school and was great. I will tell you something interesting. I mean, I was kind of starting again and again to studying my Arabic. And when I came to, I think there are 4 levels in your school, right? So I was like, I can't remember anything. I know how to say Salam alaikum. I don't know. I don't know anything. So I need to start all over again. I was like going to the first lesson, and after the first lesson, I was telling to the teacher there, "Listen, this is not for me. I'm sorry. I mean, this is something I already know." And then I can't remember who from your school sent me this online course skill test, and I
Assessment.
was filling it, assessment, and I was filling it, and I understood. I'm in the 4th level. I'm in the highest level, which was very difficult for me. I was studying in the 4th level, and it was challenging because then you meet like people that, well, okay, you're reading a lot better than me, and you're talking a lot better. Okay, but if I'll push it, I'll be there. I can be there. So I think an interesting anecdote about the fact that you think you forget, but you actually know a lot. And again, as a good listener, when I'm in places in rooms, let's say that speak Arabic, when I'm listening, I can get 60-70% of the conversation. It will be hard for me to get into conversation, but a lot of time I'm like, people would stop and say, okay, let's translate for Tom, and I'm good. And I feel I'm good. I'm not just saying it to be like with my ego. And if I need translation, I'm asking. Or I'm when I'm losing, I'm asking. So I do believe when you want to be a good listener, when you want to interact as equal, when you want to change in order to build something new. So language is the core for that. Honestly, I'm working more with English, which is this language that kind of moves you forward kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
But in the same time, in the cultural level, right? Not just in the
Yeah.
emailing. There's so much there. Being able to kind of do the small references here and there, and seeing the Semit connections between the languages. I think that gives so much through inner faith, inner cultures, inner language, whatever you call it. So there's so much there to work with.
Yeah, Tom, you said something really interesting before. You said that when you went to meet this lady, you came with your reservations, you came with your judgments. It's just by instinct. That's just how we are as humans. So I'm curious from the other side, the people you're speaking to, because we're in the same field, so we have the same thing happen to us as well. What do you think that they're thinking when they come to you and speaking to you?
Well, I'm pretty sure they have their judgments. Israel, Jewish people, you name it. But that's a good question to ask them. It would be funny for me to be judgmental about what I believe they think about me. There is this interesting text about how there is the conversation that we're having right now, but in the same time there is this inner conversation or underneath conversation about what I'm thinking that you're thinking about what I'm thinking or saying.
Better question would be, what would inspire them to want to come have a conversation with you?
I believe that We Are MENA Network has a lot to offer organizations, and that is a platform to bring themselves and to bring their amazing work that they are already doing in their countries and to amplify it to international level and a regional level. So that's in the interest level. But if to say, but in the same time, I people need to meet. They need to have a nice time. I was just meeting a colleague, one of the organization's leaders from Azerbaijan. He was like visiting Israel, and we met for an evening, but we just met for a nice time. I mean, not for work. There's a lot to work, and we have so much plans. I was driving to meet him in Jerusalem because it was very important for me to make friends, to make it informal. I think if there's one thing I was got
Of course.
from the youth movement is the non-formal element of encounter is maybe the most important one. There is a
Yes.
lot. If it's in business, if it's in education, no matter what. The fact that you see it a lot, I don't know, you were just talking about how you guys met. Now you're working together, but I assume you had some great conversation and you found a lot of common ground when you guys were talking and you had this sphere of this conference we were at, and then something clicked. Something was created there. in this non-formal sphere. And from there, we can do so much. But the click is very important. It's not just
Of
about
course.
the interest.
I'm just thinking of all the youth that you bring together and how many clicks you guys are doing, and that you're behind all that work. That's so cool and so inspiring. And
You were saying about youth and encountering youth, and so I thought it would be nice to mention that we're also working with educators with like that side of the educational level, what I believe we can call the leaders that lead those the youth. So, and to tell you about this amazing educational creation and program that was created between NOAL, and the other Mimuna, that organization I was mentioning earlier from Morocco. 2 more years ago, they were starting dreaming about this idea of changing the way the Muslim Arab world is treating the Holocaust. How do they educate about that? Because I don't know if you're aware, but like in the educational systems in the Arab world, a lot you would probably learn about World War II a lot of times, but not necessarily you would talk about what happened in World War II regarding the Jewish people in the Holocaust. So from that conversation between and through the We Are MENA network, they started thinking about this idea of doing this trip to Muslim educators to bring them to Auschwitz, to bring them to Poland to kind of learn, but not only to learn for themselves, but in order to create this pedagogy to change the curriculum in the school systems where they are working in order to create a difference, to change how
wow,
their young people are learning. And we were working on that, and we got the support of Claims Conference for that. And last July, we did the first trip for 30 educators from Morocco, and it was absolutely insane and brilliant and beautiful. Luckily enough, I think we're going to the next level now. This year it's going to be with four organizations from 3 different countries, and I think it's pretty amazing that this is growing and this was created because of great dialogue between organizations that are working in the field of education, and now with educators as well. And I believe there's so much more to do in this nonprofit, people to people level. Not just in the end, youth is a great platform because when you look at the numbers, we have, I think it's more than 50 million. I can't remember the exact numbers in the Middle East, North Africa. Like the majority, first of all, is
it's
underneath the
youth.
age of 30. Yeah, underneath the age of 35, and a lot of them are unemployed. Yeah, but when you're unemployed, when you're young, if there were not us there, Abrahamic educators, you can call them maybe, there would be others, and we see that. We saw ISIS in 2011, what they did with the young people, and we see radicals everywhere and how they kind of consume all this problems and kind of work with that in order to create what they see as the future of the
Yeah.
Middle East.
And it
I
all
think we
starts
have
with the
to.
youth.
Of
Yeah,
course.
exactly. So we have to build infrastructures that are way bigger than what I've created and others have created so far in order to try to move let's start by moving the needle and hopefully shift that trend in the future.
Yeah, that's great perspective. So, as we're coming to wrap our podcast up, I do want to ask you a question. If someone listening feels aligned with what you're doing, what's one meaningful way they could engage, not just as observers, though, but as partners?
So first of all, go to wearemena.com, check our website, and if you have a youth organization or a nonprofit from the Middle East, North Africa, you are very much welcome to see if you're interested to joining the network. In order to do so, you will have to sign a We Are MENA vision statement, which is a process we did for a half a year with leaders from all over the regions, from different organizations, and we have signed this last November in this leaders summit we did. So you have to agree with kind of the values of We Are MENA and some other technicalities, but you can become a member organization. That's one way to interact with We Are MENA and what we're doing. And from there, you will become part of a network, which will allow you to take your ideas and take your hopefully amazing work that you're already doing in the national level and make it international and find partners, maybe bilateral, multilateral, order to create what you see as important for you and your values in creating a different region. That's in the kind of MENA level. if you're listening and you want to support and you think you can support this line of work, you're very much welcome. Again, wearemena.com. Support us in different ways. You can invite us to talk maybe in your event. We are now conducting a research to map all the youth organizations in the MENA region. We are mapping more than 100 youth organizations from all across the region in order to kind of understand how to create the best options to interact between organizations. What can we learn from other historical examples like Europe and others in the US, and attempts that were already happening in our region as well, in order to try to create the best ways to create meaningful, immersive encounters. And I really believe that working, collabing with your organization has the possibility, the option to do something that is scalable. That is not only like a one thing trend because you got some support, because and you can bring amazing people as they may to meet, but you can actually bring a lot more because you're part of an organization, because you're a grassroots organization. So you have the experience, you have the abilities to bring more and more and more young people and to change your life through immersive encounters.
Thank you, Tom. That's really impressive. You're doing God's work here and keep doing what you're doing.
It's great to
Thank
have you,
you.
Tom.
I need that.
Yeah.
Great to meet you again, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, it was a
Take
great
care.
chat. Thank you.
Thank
Love
you.
speaking
Thank
with
you.
you.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Of
Of
course.
course.
Um,